Hey guys, this is your inspiration nurse underscore RN Tierra coming to you live with another great video. Hello, all my new subscribers. Welcome to this channel where you are inspired to be at your best, whether you have experience or you don't. I am your RN. Now have my bachelor's, guys. I just finished my last class June, so I'm officially a BSN graduate. Oh my God, it was hands down a headache. But today's video is going to be super special, and it's going to be titled "What was my highest paying travel contract?" and tips to getting the highest paying contracts. So stay tuned if you guys are super interested. I know people were requesting to know kind of like what's the numbers, because again, if you're new to this channel, I have done various roles in healthcare, from volunteering and all the way to medical assistant, LPN, RN, and now my BSN. I am thinking of obtaining my nurse practitioner, but not too sure yet if that's something that God wants me to do. Getting a bachelor's was hard enough, so now I'm just kind of like just enjoying not being in class. So this video, I'm going to share with you what was my highest paid travel contract and tips on how to obtain in high paying contracts. So I'm sure everybody want to know about money, how much these nurses are getting paid, why is these contracts at higher prices and some aren't. And so I've been travel nurse for a long time now, guys. Ever since I had a nursing license as an LPN, I started, my very first job was a travel assignment. And ever since then, I fell in love with travel agencies, and I've been doing it for a very long time. Sometimes I will take a break, and sometimes I will continue to do like travel like all year round. So let's talk about it. So what was my highest paying travel contract, guys? My highest paying contract as an RN was $85 an hour. Yes, $85 an hour. And so that was kind of like where COVID was just slowing down. And I was taking care of post-COVID patients on AVENT. Now, as an LPN, I also traveled, and I believe my highest paying PRN assignments, because I've never done contract. I only done one contract out of my whole travel career. And usually, excuse me, y'all. Usually, I will do that because I don't like doing contracts all the time as a travel nurse. And you would have your experiences when you start to travel around for a very long time. I really enjoy being a PRN travel nurse. And a PRN travel nurse just means that the hours aren't guaranteed, but you can work as much as you want or as less. You're not committed on paper. So that's kind of the difference between being a contracted nurse and being a PRN nurse. Now, I have both experiences, and my highest paying PRN assignment was $29 as an LPN. Now, that is really good in the state of Virginia. Now, it depends on your state, guys. So if you guys are stationed, or you guys are up north, or you guys are down south, that is going to change based off location. Anything these nurses are getting is based off location. So as an RN, I am currently have been a local traveler. I am not a traveler to go out of the state or to go out of the country. I've never done it. I've always traveled locally in the state of Virginia, and I've been here for I've been here for a while now, like four years, I want to say. And I've done majority of all my travel work here in the state. When my son was just born, and now he's 5. So I have traveled all throughout this Virginia state. But I've always been a local traveler, meaning I don't travel a certain radius miles outside of my home, wherever my home is located. Now you can set up a certain mileage that you will go. Miles that you will go, or you can say that you don't want to. So it's up to you when you are a traveler. That's why I love it, because you can kind of customize how you want to travel. So let's talk about this bag here. Let's talk about the $85. So as an RN, that was my highest paying contract. Now, $85 is a good amount of money at the time. Usually it depends on your household who makes the most money. Your base, like your budgets and everything, your bills on that. So you know what to ask for or what to negotiate when you're negotiating your pay. Now, I've done a video on negotiating, and I did share my tips or talked about how I was able to do this. Now, originally, this travel assignment was not paying that. They were only paying their travelers that was local at 70. So the way you can, here's number one tip that you can get to a pay increase or negotiate a better amount is to use your travel experience or your education, your value you bring to the team as leverage. Leverage just means you're using something to say, hey, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been a travel nurse for this amount of years, and I have worked everywhere, and I have done all of these things, plus here's all my certifications. And so before I started at this travel assignment, I had my NIH stroke certification, my ACLS, my BLS, so many certifications at the time. I was finishing my bachelor's. I actually did my project at this location that I was traveling at, which is rare. So you know that's nothing but God, because they did not want me to do that there, but they wanted to work with my school, so they let me do it there so they can try to get a relationship with my school. So anyway, I was able to use that as a leverage. So when you're talking to a recruiter, the only thing about going and negotiating for a higher amount is that they may try to push you out quicker or in your contract quicker when you're at these assignments, because they wanted to pay everybody on the same level. Now think about it. Everybody doesn't have the same experiences and the same value when it comes to the job. So why would you want to pay your nurses all the same thing? I don't agree with that. Now in Virginia, I ran into that a lot. I used to work for a place full time that wanted all the LPNs to make the same amount, and my administrator found out what I was making and had a fit, and that was none of her business. That's only between you and HR. HR agreed with everything because of my experience. I was the most experienced nurse on her team, and I worked nights. So that is already rare for me to work nights and be the most experienced. So, and she yelled at me and wanted all her nurses to be at the same, like, I have nurses that have been here longer than you, but I'm the most experienced. That's the difference. So experience is key, guys. Here's my second tip: experience. Go to these regular jobs, work at a hospital, get some experience under your belt. Whether you work at a hospital in your area, the next town, the next county, you want to get experience. It may not be the best place, because sometimes the worst place give you the best experiences. I'm telling you, like, the best experiences. So that's what I love about it, is that I worked in places that didn't have any resources. I mean, no phlebotomist drawing blood, no code team, and this was this place that I negotiated. Now I knew they were already kind of messy, so that's also why I negotiated a higher rate. So just in case that I got to the facility and start working my assignment, I will be able to put away more money. So if something was to come up towards the end of the assignment, and they ended my assignment early, because sometimes they can try to wiggle out your contract, because I can already sense it was a messy one, then I can pull out and be okay financially, because I put away my money every week. So just because you make a certain amount of money doesn't mean that that's going to be forever. Just know, as a traveler, you might get an assignment, you get comfortable, you're like, yeah, I'm making this great pay, and then all of a sudden it feels like when your assignment ends or something comes up where you're not there no more, it feels like the rug has been ripped underneath your feet, and you're like, oh my God, this is over with. Oh, you was enjoying that hourly pay. Now, my next tip is to save your money, because we're just in times where you just never know what might go down. So you always want to save your money, especially if you're going to be traveling out of the state, or like if you're going to be that type of traveler. Save your money, because you never know. Sometimes you might show up to an assignment and it might be all hell break loose, and you're trying to get out of there and save your license. You want to have money backed up, so you can just, if you have an agreement with an apartment or rental, you rent a car, whatever, you can be able to just get out of there. You always want to have money as emergency funds to get out of there. Money should be a priority. That's another tip. It should never be a priority. When you work for any travel company, your skills, the way you care for people is priority. That will carry you all these years of traveling. Now, the way to end your career quickly is not providing good care, because everybody wants to be a travel nurse, so you are easily replaced, just like a regular job. So as an LPN, my highest paying assignment was $29. And when I started as an RN straight out of school on a regular job, no travel, nothing, at a hospital for 3 years, I didn't even start at 29. I think I started at 27. And that's with my LPN experience, right? That was fresh out of school, just getting my feet wet. That's okay, because experience is key. Experience is key. You can't buy that. So you want to make sure you build your relationships, build your experience. You're going to network with so many other nurses. Then when you start traveling around, you'll have the skills to be confident to do the job, because you're going to have to work 3 times harder to do that job. Every day I showed up, I had the most patients at this assignment. This manager, he grabbed my arm. I mean, it was getting really aggressive. I had some changes made because things were unsafe, and they wanted me to, like, everywhere I go, people want me to manage, and I didn't even think I was a manager at the time, but I am. Now I'm stepping in, I'm being mature about mine. I'm a manager in the heart, because compliance and safety is like big for me. And if I go somewhere, it's really hard for me to know that anything can cause when it comes to patient safety. I don't play with patients' lives at all. Nope. And I give my 100% and more. I was very nice to the team. Some people were nice to me, some people weren't. Some people needed my help, and I just started there, and they've been there. Like, the regular employees were like asking me how did I know how to do stuff, and I'm just like, I've been doing this for so long. So as a mature traveler, you can adopt. You kind of like the lizard that changed colors. You just know how to go on a unit and just adapt to the team and do your job and go. And also, as you start to get mature and being a nurse, your attitude will be different. You will talk less. You will be worrying about building best friends or finding friends and all that, who want to eat lunch together. Mature RNs or LPNs, you will see them, they to themselves. They like, come in, they get their bag, and they go. They clock out. They're not worrying about none of those things. But when you're new, starting out, it's kind of like high school. You want to fit in. You should. Another tip is never tell your business. I'm currently doing another travel contract right now. I signed all my documents, and I will share this with you once I get started, because I don't like to talk about nothing I didn't do. And right now, travel, anything with travel has slowed down almost to nothing. So there's no more crisis pay, where people were getting paid like hundreds and $100s an hour. There's no more of that. There's no more COVID anything. A lot of the buildings are getting rid of their travelers, and I was a manager, so we were getting rid of our travelers. We were trying to hold on to 2, because you always need your travelers, like your night shift, your day shift, because there's times when the schedule is crazy and managers have to work 7 days a week. I was doing that, working 7 days a week, because nurses was calling out, and then I had to pick up. Then I was on call on top of that. Only the ADON and the DON was on call in the building. And I changed that too, because I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be the only one on call with the DON. Everybody on call now. So I changed so many things. And so everywhere I travel to, people want to know, like, what is the best way to teach their staff how to be safe. And some places you go, you will realize that, like, there's nothing I could do to save this place. This place is like just falling apart. Even if I say this, there's so many problems that is so overwhelming as just thinking like a manager to try to solve a lot of their problems. But I do give advice. I always sit down and I share, because I think sharing knowledge is powerful. Having a good teacher is always, and somebody to just tell you, girl, no, don't do it. But 85 did do everything I needed for the time. I think I went on a trip. I bought my vehicle. Did a lot of things, and just know that it's only temporarily. And then you're on to your next assignment. Now, if they extend you or they stay. Now you have some people that start to like your care or like you as a person, and they'll keep you on their team and keep extending your contract. That is gold if you're a local traveler, because it's kind of like going to an assignment all year round, but you're just you just get paid from your travel agency. So it's cool. I haven't had that experience, which that's okay, because I had so much nursing experience that sometimes I come on and I'm like, it's just like, again, for me, it's just very hard for me just to zip it if it's come to safety. Like I told y'all my experience where I didn't have nowhere to waste my narcs, and they was putting it down the sink, and no crash carts were all wrong, and I just couldn't do it because I knew I was in a place where it was unsafe, because patients was crashing literally every 5 to 10 minutes. The crash cart was running up and down the hall, 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 and everybody has to participate in a code because they didn't have a code team. Everybody on staff for the day shift was the code team, and whoever provider that was, or nurse practitioner that was on staff, is part of the code team. And you literally give the epi. You literally decide if you want to give fluids or you want to continue to. I have never worked nowhere that doesn't at least have that resource, but they didn't have it. Because you'll find there's a lot of places that's a private running unit, but they're not a part of a hospital. They just privately ran, and the hospital has nothing to do with them. And you'll find a lot of things out as a travel nurse. So when you do decide you want to settle down and pick a full-time job and just, if the pay is right, I know I'm not going there. I know I'm not going there because you've been inside majority of these places. But what I do want to tell you, the best tip is do not think you know everything, because no one knows everything. When someone is trying to teach you something or show you something, be very open-minded. Be kind to people. Don't think because you're a traveler, you're making, like me, $85. I know for a fact, I was enjoying it, but I know that unless God opened some door where it was going to be forever, that would have been nice. But I knew it was going to come, with some work, and it did. It came with like a lot more patients. Everybody had 2. I would have 6 vent patients, and it's like, nurses was even starting to question, like, because you'll see my name on the board with the most patients. Like, why she got the most patients for? So, I worked. When I tell you I work for that, I work for it. So sometimes in travel nursing, another tip is to take a break. So when you really have a hard assignment, you could take the next month. Or some people take all summer off, or they take all winter off, and then they go back into it. Another tip to get in the highest paying contract is when you do your negotiation, don't add any vacation time. So say for instance, I travel normally with my family off season, right? Which I love that we've been doing that for years. Meaning I travel around spring, winter time, not too like off season times throughout the year. I never travel like August, June, July, any of those main times. So when you're doing like I did for my current contract that I'm getting ready to start, when you put no vacation days and say like I'm working August, let's see, September, October, and then November, December, I'm be off of the contract. Wait till you off of those 3 months before you plan your vacations, so that way when it's time for you to go on those vacations, you're not causing a problem with the schedule. Even though you rich your vacation days in your contract, it does cause problems as well, because it's like, now we're paying you all this money and then you're going on all these vacations. Because let me tell you, when I was getting paid the $85, I was going on like, I want to say 3 trips. I remember 3 or 4 trips or something like that. Just because I needed a break. But it can also cause a lot of problems, because now the team is like, how you get to do all that? And we got, it don't look fair. But I always tell people to go into traveling. I always give them the number. I refer so many nurses to these companies because I want people to have the opportunities that I have. I know a lot of single mothers. I have friends that's single mothers, and I'm like, that's the first people I wanted to help, because I was raised by a single mother. So I know how hard it is. Just even being married is hard. It's hard out here to make a living and to keep your bills paid and work and keep your sanity. So I always encourage other nurses to go into it. And of course, they argue with you why they can't, and or something with the insurance they need. And I'm like, travel companies offer insurances. They offer 401ks now. When I started out, I didn't see much of that, but now there's so many. The company I'm with now, oh my God, y'all, I'm gonna give y'all the juice on the next video. When I tell you it's like I found gold as far as the quality of the company. Now, I don't usually go work with too many companies. The most I've done was probably 2, the most, out of the whole traveling experience I had from years, because I'm really particular on my agencies, and I don't like to hop around. It kind of looks bad to me. So another thing is to sit down if you're like figuring out like what hourly rate will benefit you and what your plans are. Like, say for this year, you might have plans to visit your mom somewhere, in another country, or you want to take your kids on like a end of the year trip, or you're starting like a business, or you want to buy something. You want to plan it. So you want to plan all your trips after the contract is over in the 3 months, because then the people who's accepting your contract, they'll be like, oh, okay, good. So we have her for 3 months if they need. And another tip for them accepting this contract too is just be flexible. So even though you sign up, right, to work your 36 hours during the day or night, if they need you to work an additional shift this week, or say they need you to work or switch your days with somebody or whatever, and anytime you switch your days with somebody, always let your agency know what's going on. Never just switch your days on your schedule that your agency think you're scheduled on those days. I had that happen. This place was doing whatever they want when they want it, and I had to make sure I was communicating with my agency a whole bunch and like, look what they're doing. They switching me all around and making me switch with this girl, and then I show up and I'm not even on the board with a patient, so make sure you're communicating with your recruiter, because your recruiter is supposed to be your backbone. You let them know everything in writing, emails, everything from day one. But if the team needs you and they say, hey, Tierra, is there any way you can work like this contract? I have to work Labor Day and Halloween. If I might have to work those 2 things, but because it's within the contract 3 months, that's okay. I usually don't do nothing for Labor Day anyway. So it's just like, I'm like, okay. And my contract was approved within like a few minutes. Like, it was approved really quickly. This contract that I did, I would talk about in another video. I really didn't do too much to it. It was already, like, this agency was lit, that I didn't have to do all the stuff that I had to do with the last agency. So I'm switching agencies. So, yes, I know people who was making over what I was making, on different assignments in COVID. People were killing the game. Me, I was just more so my safety. So I wouldn't want to risk my life or like risk my family being exposed by me just traveling all around the place. I didn't think that would be fair to my family or myself. So I did not do that. I did not participate, but I did take care of the patients during COVID, in a regular job. As soon as COVID started, all the way to the end, and then I took care of the patients post-COVID on vents, trying to get off the vent to get home, to go to rehab, to go home. So I had a lot of, hands into COVID. This whole pandemic was crazy. I had so much experience from it, but I didn't risk my life as far as chasing a bag and traveling all over the place just to make all this money. Because some people's contracts was been canceled. Like lately, a lot of travel contracts has been canceled. So if you can find a local gig that's like 15, 20 minutes from your house, where you can go and work there full time as a traveler, get to know the facility. Like the hospital I'm going to, I haven't been at ever yet. So I'm excited about getting to know this facility and learning about it, the policies and procedures and everything about it, which would help me later on as a traveler going there. And they sound super nice. So I would definitely share my experience with you guys. But anyway, know you guys' numbers when you are talking to a recruiter. Don't allow the recruiter to like influence influence what you need, or what you need. So don't take a low paying contract if you know you need this to pay your bills. But be realistic. You don't want to be like outrageous. It's like, yeah, let me get $200 an hour. Like, that's not they're not going to approve your contract. The main thing is to get your contract approved, because you can always do overtime. Overtime is time and a half. Anything over 40 hours in Virginia. I had to learn that too as a travel nurse, because when I got my check, I'm like, where's my other couple of hours? And they like, it's not over 40 hours, so you got the remainder of the 12-hour shift, even though I worked an additional day. So remember, anything over 40 hours is overtime. Then you start collecting your time and a half. So imagine if you worked the $85 an hour plus overtime, time and a half. Imagine how much that. So overtime is how also you can, if you don't have the very best paying contract, make sure you get as much overtime, because that would be your number. Anyway, you're getting paid more than a regular job ever pay you anyway. So that plus time and a half, do the math. So when you're picking up 2-3 shifts, or let's say you pick up 2 extra shifts a week, or 1 shift each week, or whatever you want to do, it's definitely going to boost you way higher than you trying to get a really high number just starting for your travel assignment. That's just a good tip, because I used to do it opposite too. I used to go for a good paying contract rate versus my overtime. Now your overtime, because when I used to get some checks, I'd be like, how I get all this money? Because first of all, nurses never get out on time from work. So now you got an extra 40 minutes a day that you stay to give report, give over your keys, do your rounds, final rounds, and then you leave. So every day I was collecting overtime, because I was always over 36 hours. I never ever got out and worked on time. Plus if I picked up extra. So sometimes I didn't even realize that my money, I was trying to calculate how they was giving me all of this. But try to get your money through the overtime. That is my biggest tip. Now, ain't nobody ever going to be giving you all this now. I'm giving y'all all the juice in front of my house, y'all. I'm sitting in my swing, I'm trying to enjoy this beautiful day that God put together. But I want to give this to you guys because it's been on my heart. And I know that it's hard out there. Even when you're working people and you're doing things the right way, it's still hard. It's like, it's just like you can't catch a break. But when you have God, anything is possible. Always advocate. I had recruiters that told me things were outrageous. My ideas were outrageous. My amount that I wanted was outrageous. Why? When I know my worth. That's the biggest tip, is to know your worth as a nurse. Know what you bring. All those education. First of all, I've been in school for years. I have 3 degrees now, plus all these certifications. I'm an infection control nurse. I'm this, that. And my years of experience. I've worked major hospitals. I've worked long-term care. You name it, I've done it. Pediatrics, I've done it. OBGYN experience, I've done it. So you want to make sure you use that as leverage. You say, and know how to advocate for yourself. It's almost like a job interview. You say, hey, you want me on your team because this is what I bring it to the table. Everybody brings something to the table at your team when you work at a job, right? So you use that as your leverage. And that will get you, and just how your tone is, be respectful to people and professional. Always. That will always help you when you're trying to get somebody to approve your contract. So even though you put together a contract, it still has to get approved by the facility. If you want it approved really quickly, and like when I was doing my last one that I told you guys about, it took 2 weeks because my recruiter was pushing back. The facility was pushing back. Then they wanted me full time. Then I'm like, okay, if you want me full time, you got to meet my conditions. Then my recruiter was like, oh, you being outrageous with your conditions. And da-da-da-da-da. This time around, I changed some things where now I didn't put any vacation time on there. I literally didn't care about the rate because now I realize how the overtime is. You make more with your overtime than anything. So don't make it look like you out here just trying to basically rob the place. You know, a lot of businesses are on their last leg. They're trying to stay in business. So you still got to be practical about everything. And like I said, always be professional. And the new company I'm with, they already asked me to advertise for them because I realized, like, this new one that I found, I'm like, I'm so grateful. It feels like it's my birthday, like all the benefits. And again, I'll do it on another video because we don't got time for that. And I'll talk to you guys later.